IPBES is a very special institution because the countries of the world have come together to say that environmental topics have to be addressed with human development topics. But not only that, we have to also include multiple values and value systems. So traditionally, when we talk about biodiversity, we talk about ecological values and even sometimes economic values. But IPBES is trying to formalize the inclusion of other cultural values. So how does biodiversity affect health? How does biodiversity affect cultural continuity? And in that sense, this new emphasis on traditional and local and indigenous knowledge is something that hasn't been as well incorporated in previous assessments. These were in some ways absent voices that weren't participating in decision making. And so now we've put those on par with scientific and ecological data and economic data. And I think that's a crucial change in the way we understand the human-nature relationship. And in that sense, the fact that IPBES 6 is being held here in Colombia is very important, because countries here in Latin America, particularly Mexico, Colombia, and Bolivia, among others, have been very strong promoters of this new way of understanding the science-policy relationship, because it's no longer just about scientific knowledge. It's about knowledge understood more broadly and incorporating other worldviews and value systems that are not just Western, and they're not just scientific, and are not just economic. And that's the only way we're going to rationalize our human-nature relationship with regards to development and human well-being. So I think the question of how do we incorporate traditional and indigenous knowledge in the IPBES evaluations is a very important one. And of course, we don't have the silver bullet, we don't have the final solution. But what I think IPBES has been very innovative and very proactive in creating is a multi-tiered process. So first of all, multiple conceptualizations of nature were included in the conceptual model that we received at the beginning. So the conceptual model that all evaluations use includes multiple values of nature, not just scientific values. So that's important, that we all have the same understanding of what we're doing. Then in a second level, the governance process of IPBES is of course controlled by countries and country-level governments. But also other actors and stakeholders participate as observers, and they can also make comments on the different drafts of the documents, so that we're getting constant feedback from other knowledge holders. So it's not just scientific knowledge. And then finally, experts can be nominated who aren't just scientific experts. You can be expert in traditional knowledge and represent your community, not as a scientist, but as an expert in traditional ecological knowledge. And so that's a way to diversify what expert means. It's not just science. And particularly in the Americas, and I'm sure this happened in other regions as well, since sometimes traditional knowledge is not published in scientific papers, so we can't review it, they conducted workshops where they brought in different knowledge holders in one place and had a multiple-day workshop where they addressed different questions and produced documents as to show the diversity, but also the consensus between these participants, that those documents could then be made available to the Americas assessment authors to incorporate in the assessment. So I think what's crucial there is that we don't have the silver bullet of including traditional knowledge and how do you weigh traditional knowledge compared to scientific knowledge. That there's no formula for that. But what IPBES has been very, very successful at doing is creating a multi-stage process that includes the conceptual model, the governance process, and then the experts, and the way we incorporate the granular knowledge at the author level has been thought about and worked on. So of course, in the future, this will be improved, but I think we've made significant advances in that compared to any previous assessment of biodiversity and nature's contributions to people. I think the most important aspect of this multiple values of nature is that we can now have a better accounting of what we're really doing to the natural world. It's quite common that someone can criticize and say, well, we're reducing nature's contributions to people, supposedly. We're reducing biodiversity, but at the same time we're reducing poverty, we're increasing the gross domestic product, so what's the problem? We're reducing malnutrition rates. Well, part of the problem is that we're not taking a full accounting of the other values that are at stake. So yeah, we may increase food production by a certain decision, but we may also be decreasing cultural continuity in that place. We may be decreasing the health of people in that place. We may be transferring benefits from a broad group of community members to a particular group of community members. So these don't tell us how to make decisions, but it helps us make better decisions because we actually understand all the values at stake and not just one or two ecological or economic values, but also the health values, the food security values, the water security values, the sustainable livelihoods values, and cultural continuity values that traditionally in biodiversity assessments have not been fully incorporated.